Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the L&S Crafts podcast. It's been a while since I sat down in front of the camera and did a video sharing with you my finished objects and whips and such. And reason being, we have been having the summer holidays here with the kids. The kids have been off school for 6 weeks and we've been away on holiday for 2 weeks. We went to St Lucia, which was really nice. So you probably see that I've got a bit more colour. What else has been going on? So basically with the 6 weeks holidays, with the kids being off, you have to find things to keep them occupied, and they've been driven here, there and everywhere, and it's just been a busy time because I've had to work through it as well. So yeah, so I haven't really had much time to do a lengthy video. I have uploaded some videos in relation to my makeup channel, but those are shorter videos and a lot easier to find the time to fit those in. So I know that with the finished objects I have to share with you here and some of the whips, it's going to be a long video, so just pre-warning you. So anyway, I'm going to kick off with my finished objects. This was a pattern I found on Ravelry. I'd say about a year or so ago. I wanted to make some gloves and I found this pattern. I worked to it before and I had no problems, except that the thumbs came up slightly bigger on this pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, so you can check that out. This time round I decided to make a pair for my cousin who requested them before Christmas last year, so I'm a little bit late. But she asked me to make some gloves for her and I've had a go making the gloves. They are meant for a sport weight yarn. I've used a DK weight yarn. And although I've finished the gloves and they look quite neat, the body of the glove seems to be quite long. So this section, somehow I've managed to elongate the hands so it looks a bit odd. But when I put them on, they don't look as odd as they look on camera. I mean on, like, when there's no hand in them. So hopefully she'll be happy with these. So the yarn I used was 2 different types of yarn. I had Rico Design Creative Sport DK weight yarn, and that was the purple colour. And then the green, I think this was oh, what was it? I can't remember. This was another yarn from a project. Right, that's the King Cole Bamboo Cotton Solids, this one, in the colour Breeze. Sea Breeze. So I used 2 different colours because basically I ran out of yarn, and when I was running out of yarn I thought, what am I going to do? Just do something slightly different and make them match. So I've just added in the green, the Sea Breeze, and put a stripe across it just to kind of make them look similar. Not sure how it's going to go down, but I just kind of, gloves are really fiddly, and getting all the finger bits right is very fiddly, and I just really didn't want to go back and redo them. I was in the mood for doing the gloves at the time, but once I got round to, I think once I finished the first hand and I'd done all those fiddly finger bits, I really wasn't feeling doing the rest of it or even unravelling any of it, so I just made the second glove to match. So I discovered that one hand was slightly longer in the body, in the main section, before I moved on to the second glove, but then I just thought, well, I'm just going to make them match, and that was that. So hopefully she likes them, and I mean they will serve her well during winter, so we shall see. Those are the gloves. That's my first finished object. The next one was, let's see, the next finished object was my tunic tee, which you see behind me. I'm not sure if I posted any pictures of finished objects on Instagram, but this is my tunic t-shirt, and I managed to finish this. I think I'd started it in my last video and I managed to finish it up. The yarn is Stylecraft Genie yarn in the colour Memphis, and the pattern, this is what it looks like. It's got a dipped neck here, little cap sleeves, which is really nice, and then the rib bit here. and the pattern is the Tunic Tee by Winding Road Crochet. That's the pattern there. Tunic Tee by Winding Road Crochet, and it's a very clear pattern, I think. I didn't have any problems with this. All the information is given in the first page with the abbreviations and such. The same, you know, it's just what you get in a standard pattern. I didn't have any issues with this. It was the first time I'd ever worked a crochet rib. I've never done this before. So that was the hem. I'd never done the rib before, and I did make a couple of mistakes on that initially and had to rip it back a couple of times. But other than that, I mean, because it's always helpful when the pattern has a picture on the front or somewhere so you can actually see what it's meant to look like. So I was looking at the front of the pattern and realising that my ribbing wasn't quite matching. It was kind of going off key, so I had to redo that a couple of times. Other than that, it was plain sailing. It just consists of double trebles, UK trebles, and yeah, it was easy. The top, obviously the shaping, you have some different stitches in there, but other than that, it was a very easy and what's the word? Easy and pleasurable project. I enjoyed doing this project, and I didn't want the pockets on the front. The pockets are on the front here. I didn't like the way the pockets sit on the front, so I didn't do mine with pockets. I've done mine without, and it's long enough that I can wear a pair of leggings underneath them, which is what it was intended for. And it's kind of the yarn is like a cool cotton yarn, so the Stylecraft Genie yarn is made up of, let me just see, what's the content, 60% cotton and 40% acrylic fibres, so it does feel, it feels really nice and soft, but it also feels nice when you're wearing it. It's a bit warmer than a cotton, 100% cotton. It's not as cool, if that's the right word. So yeah, so that's that, and the pattern is the same front and back, so you just repeat the same for the front and the back, which is easy enough. And yeah, I've worn it once or twice, I think. So that was my second finished object. Then I moved on to do some socks, because that was a big garment out of the way, so I had some a gap to do some other stuff. So I thought, let me do something a bit more mindless. So I knit some socks up. I just had leftover yarn. I've been trying to use up little bits of leftover yarn to make socks with, things from other projects, maybe from another sock project or from a shawl that I've been working on. So I made these shorty socks. I'm actually liking wearing the shorty socks, so I thought I'd do a few more. I made these basic vanilla shorty socks. These are a UK size. I've made them to a UK size 6. I think I must have run out of yarn, or didn't quite use them all up. These, I think what I did was cuff down for these. Yeah, I used an old Norwegian cast on for the top, and I did it in the burgundy colour that you see here, which is the colourway Yule Boots by Pixie Yarns, which she has renamed to Ellie. So I've used that colour on the top, just one row of that colour, and then just done a 2x2 rib, and then a heel flap and gusset heel, vanilla sock, and then the contrast toe. So this is the colour Yule Boots, as I said, which is a merino nylon base. The cuff is made out of a yarn. I think it was a yarn that was given to me by the Woolly Ferret, and I'm not quite sure what brand it is or what kind of base it is. I'm hoping it's the same as the sock, so I'm hoping it's a merino nylon, but I don't know. But I just thought I'd run with it. I thought it went nicely with as a contrast for the toes and heels, toes and cuffs, sorry. So yeah, so that's what I've done there. I think I've been trying to experiment with the length of the leg section to make the shorty socks more comfortable for me. And on these socks, I did 15 rows on the leg to see how they turned out, and I like those. I managed to do something slightly different with the toe, unbeknownst to me. I think I did, instead of doing an knit one SSK at the beginning of the decreases and then knit to the end and then do knit two together, knit one, I think I did it quite close to, I did the knit two together right at the end of the row, and that's why the toe section looks a bit thinner than it would normally look. I'll show you in another sock. So that one looks like that, but yeah, this one, let me get another sock blocker. The toes are slightly different in the way I've done the decreases. So this one looks wider, can you see that? This one's slightly wider and that one is a lot thinner. Hopefully you can see that. If I turn them that way, is that any better? You can see that one set of decreases on the decreases on this sock are slightly, they show up more wider than the purple one. Anyway, hopefully you can see what I mean by that. But yeah, so those are slightly different. The yarn was, I've used the yarn before, had no problems with it before, really liked it. Seller's really lovely, it's Pixie Yarns and her name is Sophie. Go and check her out. She has a shop on Etsy where you can purchase that yarn. And so that was my first pair of shorty socks which I made, and like I said, because I did them cuff down, I had leftover yarn of the purple, which was what I was trying to use up. So I've got that somewhere, not quite sure where that is, but I've got a tiny ball of some remaining yarn for that. So I didn't quite manage to finish up that yarn. The next thing I moved on to was a hat, and actually, did I use that in the hat? Let me see. Did I? No, I didn't. Yeah, so next thing I moved on to was the Harlow hat. I've knit this one a few times before. This is by Andrea Renee. Andrea Mowry. She is Drea Renee Knits. So I knit the Harlow hat, which I've knit a few times before, which is a brioche hat, just a plain brioche hat. It's a paid for pattern, so I can't show you any more detail than that. However, the hat looks like this. I'm really pleased with the way the hat's turned out. I think I did the small version this time. I did the youth or adult small size, and that's what it looks like. I've put my label on. That's it. Those are the decreases, and on the other side, that's what it looks like. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think my brioche is getting better. I did find that I had to re-watch the video to remember how to do the stitches, and I did make a mistake in the crown, but I'm not going to show you because it's not that, unless you've done brioche and you're really good at it, I don't think you would really notice it. So the yarn I used for this was Dusted Impulse sock yarn, which is a 75/25 merino nylon base, and the colourway for that was Torpid, and I used that in the Vertices Unite shawl, and I had some left over, so I thought I'd use that in the hat. And the same goes for the Jelly Beans merino nylon sock yarn, again 75/25 merino nylon base, and the colour for that was Summer Berries, and again that was used in the Vertices Unite shawl that I made earlier on. I wanted to use up the yarn basically, so I thought let me just use the two and make a brioche hat, because I thought it would be quite nice the way the colour would shine or show through there. And yeah, I'm really pleased with that, and I've stuck another little label on. I've got, there's my Eleanor's Crafts label on there, nice wooden label. Bought these on Etsy in case you're interested. Can't remember the name of the company, but I did get it on Etsy. They're really nice. They add a nice little touch to the hat, I think. So yeah, so that is the Harlow hat. I didn't have any problems with this, like I said. I just had to remind myself of how to do the brioche by watching some of Andrea Mowry's videos. She's got some good videos sharing with you the brioche pearl left and brioche right and all of that, whatever, I can't remember the terminology now, but you get what I mean. So yeah, it was quite easy to do that once I remembered how things run. Then I got more. So then I moved on to some more socks, one of which I showed you a moment ago, and that is another shorty sock. So I finished these up. Were these knit? I think these again were cuff down, vanilla, no pattern, old Norwegian cast on. Same again, I used that same colour to do the a line of stitching the cast on. Even I used that colour, the pixie yarn colour, to do the cast on, and then I just did the rest of the sock in that colour, the plain colour. So this colour is Vintage China, and it's a Lay Family Yarns yarn, and it's a merino nylon fingering weight yarn. I think it is 75/25 for that base. Let's see, here's the yarn label, 75/25, yeah. That's them, Lay Family Yarns. I bought this actually at Unravel in February, and I've managed to finally finish up the yarn, which I'm really pleased about. Or have I? Let me think. What am I doing? No, I'm using it now, aren't I? I think I'm using it. Oh, I don't know. I'm getting myself all muddled. I've still got quite a chunk of this yarn left over, and I'm using up what I have left on a whip project, which I'll show you in a moment. But that's the sock. It's a vanilla sock, and this time round I did a shorter leg here. I've still done my heel flap and gusset style, but I did a shorter leg because, like I said, I've been experimenting with the length, and for that I've just done 5 rows after doing the 2x2 rib here, and then I go into the heel, and then obviously it's plain sailing down to the toe, and that's what that looks like. And I'm really pleased with these as well. These fit nicely too. I still haven't decided whether I prefer the 15 stitches or the 5, and I think, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to try them on again and see which one fits better. But yeah, that's one. I do have 2 socks. There are 2 of them. Just, that's what they look like. And these are a UK size 7. I have to make notes of what size I've made, because sometimes I give them away as gifts, and obviously if I give it away as a gift I need to know who I'm giving it to, so that I get the sizing correct. So that is those. That's my second pair of vanilla shorty socks. Then I moved on to make some hats, because I won a prize, which I mentioned in my previous video before this one, from the Hairy Sheep podcast, and that prize was lots of yarn, and I felt like, wow, I need to start using this. Pretty sharpish, I love it. I mean, they were so generous of them to do that, and to gift me that yarn, and I was really excited to start making something. So I think, let's see, yeah, it's in my, what's it called, bag, Knitting Teaspoon project bag. I have, that's it there, this was by the Knitting Teaspoon, which is Lisbeth, and I have inside this bag a hat that I finished up. So first of all, the yarn that I was using was a West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. It's the Croft Shetland Tweed yarn, that's it there. This was gifted to me by the Hairy Sheep podcast, and it is, I can't remember what, it's an Aran weight yarn. This is what it looks like in the ball. It's a lovely speckly blue yarn, really soft and fluffy, and it is 100% Shetland Island wool. And with that I made, I'm going to call it kind of a sock head style hat. I can't remember if I used a pattern. Yeah, I used a classic beanie pattern by Woolly Wormhead and incorporated Jason's cashmere hat pattern, which is available, both are available on Ravelry. I used elements of both. I cast on using the old Norwegian cast on, did a 2x2 rib at the bottom, and then just stocking stitch until I got the hat to measure what I wanted. And then I've added this fluffy pom-pom, which again was given to me by the Hairy Sheep podcast. And this one, it has like a little elastic loop in it, a tiny elastic loop on the pom-pom, so that you can do what I've done here. I've put a button on the inside of the hat and secured the pom-pom around it using that elastic. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. There's like a black elastic attachment from the hat there that goes around the button to secure it in place. So if you want to if the person who gets this wants to wash the hat, they can remove the pom-pom and put it in the washing machine. That's what I've seen other people do, so that's what I've done. It is a very big hat. I've put my label on it. Let's show you what it looks like. I've got hair clip in my hair, so it might look a bit odd, but it's very slouchy. I do have my hair pinned up. It is very slouchy, but it will be, for someone who likes a slouchy hat, that'll be fine. I tend to like my hats like beanies, so I would wear it tighter like that, a bit more fitted. But yeah, either way, it's done and it fits an adult size head. So yeah, that's the first one. Then I moved on, still inspired by hats and by the yarns that I had been given. I moved on and I decided to do another hat because of the pom-pom, and this time that hat is in this project bag, which was given to me by the Hairy Chic podcast. The name of the maker of the bag is not actually on the bag, so I can't remember who it was. However, I can tell you about the hat. The hat is made with some yarn that I bought in B&M stores, which cost $2.99 a ball, and it's a mohair luxury blend yarn. This is what it looks like. Again, it's a blue fluffy kind of, not speckly, but it's, I don't know, tonal, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what you would call it because it doesn't, it's not, to me it's not speckly, but anyway, that's the yarn label from B&M, and it's a 56% acrylic, 30% polyamide, 7% wool, 7% mohair. And this is more, it says 7 to 8 millimeter needles, so I guess it's more of a chunky project, but I did use smaller needles. I didn't use needles that I'd use for a chunky project. I used, what did I use? I used size 4 needles right the way through, I think. So the rim, the actual rib was the same. I knit the rib and the body of the hat on the same size needles, so the rib's slightly wider on the rim. So the classic beanie and Jason cashmere hat pattern again combined. I incorporated bits of each pattern and done this. So the rib, I've made it extra long so that I can double it over. So when I fold it, I've done a row of knit so that it folds perfectly along the line there. So that's the knit row. You can see that, and I've done it that so that I can fold the rib. So you've got a double rib here, and then just an ordinary beanie hat, again with a pom-pom, same as before, with the button on the inside, secured with the elastic, and just right. Nice big fluffy hat, very warm as well. So yeah, so that is the second hat. So you can tell I've been busy. I have leftovers of both the Croft yarn and the mohair yarn. Not quite sure what to do with them because there's not a lot of leftover yarn. So I've lost it. Here it is. So that's what I've got left from this hat. I'm not quite sure what to do with this because it's mohair. Got any ideas? Share them below. So, and about the same amount from the other hat. Let's see, the other hat. Yeah, about the same amount from that one. Again, not sure what to do with that. Let me know what your thoughts are. So that's those. Then I finished another garment. I managed to finish this top that you see here. So this top, I was looking for a summer top to make, and on Ravelry, and I came across this top, which is by Hinton Stein, and it's called the Simply Perfect Summer Top. And wow, this I love the pattern, the way that the top is shaped. Look at that. It is just, it's really elegant looking. I've used a yarn that I bought in B&M stores, which is an affordable yarn, and it's called the Sparkle Glamorous DK yarn. So it's a cream colour, but it's got I'm not sure if it'll pick up on camera. It's got like shimmery flecks in it. I'm not sure if the camera's going to show off that sparkle. it doesn't show it off as well as you can see it in real life. Unfortunately, it's like a glistening top, but it's V-neck. This thing, the amazing thing about this top is it is knit top down, all in one, and I was kind of baffled for how they were going to do that, but it's a paid for pattern and I can't share it, but I would definitely recommend that you buy this pattern. It's a fairly new release. Let's see, I was waiting for it to come out. She did advertise it, I think, on Instagram or somewhere, and then the pattern wasn't released until a bit later on. So this pattern was published in 2019 June, and I saw it come up somewhere and I thought, oh, that's really nice, I really want to do that, but it wasn't yet published, so I had to wait for it to be published, and then bam, I snagged that. And then I started this fairly recently and finished it off, and it's a very quick knit for me, because the majority of it is stocking stitch. You do have like garter panels here and garter here and the garter sleeves and the side panels there. Hopefully I will have some photos to be able to show you what it looks like on when I upload this. But I really like it. The back is just a high neck at the back there, really pretty, very elegant. I was kind of kicking myself that I used this yarn for it because it's a DK weight yarn and it's acrylic, and it's not the perfect yarn to use for a summer top because it's quite warm. So, you know, I'm thinking that maybe I could make another one using a cotton based yarn, something a bit cooler, rather than an acrylic, because it's nice, it feels really soft when I got it on. That's the other thing, the yarn was really scratchy to work with. I didn't enjoy the yarn itself. I enjoyed the pattern but not the yarn itself when I was knitting it, but once I've got it on, tried it on, and I'm wearing it, it feels really nice on, thank goodness. So yeah, so that's that. Did I have any difficulties with this? I think I made a mistake around this section, joining it. I don't know what I could have done better. Because I'm not quite sure what I did wrong, but I know that that wasn't quite the way that it's meant to look. The stitches are not as, they don't kind of go straight across and nice and neatly, but I don't think anyone's really going to be paying too much attention to that. And also I think slightly in this area it kind of slightly sticks out, curves a bit. I'm not sure if that is my mistake or if that is the way the pattern was intended, but yeah, but that's that. And I really like it. The hem is a nice garter hem and it's a split hem, so that fits nicely. Obviously if you don't like a split hem then you could just keep it all joined in the round, but I like the split hem on this one because it fits really nicely. And yeah, that is it. That's my Simply Perfect summer top, which I'm really pleased with. So I should be wearing that again soon. And did I show you the pattern? What have I done with the pattern? I had the pattern, here it is. Silly me, I don't know. I got everything laid out around me for my finished objects section so I can show you and reach for the patterns, you know, and share everything in a methodical, organised way, and then I forget to reach for the pattern. So this is the pattern, Simply Perfect top. There we are. That's the way it looks. Available on Ravelry. There is information on this side as to gauge size. So it goes from extra small, small, medium, large, extra, extra large. So there's quite a good range of sizes. You can have, for this top, you can have it the fitted version, or you can just have it straight, and I went for the straight one without shaping because that's my preferred style. And also there was something else in here that you can do slightly different. Can't remember what it was, but you have to note your stitches. What was it now? They made suggestions. She does have suggestions in here if you want to kind of alter the pattern slightly to suit your sizing, and the sizes kind of are not rounded up to like a 36-inch bust, for example. They go 30, 32, 34, 37, 38, 40. So for a 36 I had to go with the closest size to that and figure out how that would work for me. I think that's right. Is that right? Am I getting it wrong? No, I'm getting that completely wrong. Totally ignore what I just said. So the sizing goes 32.75, this is for the bust, 32.75, 35.75, 38.75, 42, 45 and 48 inches. So if you're in between any of those rounded sizes, then there's information in the pattern to kind of help you gauge what would be your best size to work to and how to make the alterations so that your top fits your actual size. So obviously I did the pattern according to my fit, and I have blocked this. I did a wet block, and after I'd done the wet block I realised because it's got acrylic in it I should have actually just done a steam block to make it lay out in the shape that I wanted it to. So you can see here it doesn't look like it's been blocked because you see that's going in, the sides going in when I'm just on the hanger like this. You can see where things are not properly shaped, whereas if I'd have done a steam block it would have set the shape in much better. So I don't know why I didn't do the steam blocking, to be honest, because I had planned to do that, but then I just went with a wet block for some reason. So anyway, that's the yarn ball, B&M Glamorous yarn, and the colourway, I don't know, it's got colour shade S00K013, that's the colour that I have chosen, and this is what it looks like in the ball. I'm not sure if you can, there you go, you can see the sparkle now. You see it's kind of like iridescent sparkles, that's what it looks like all over. So yeah, and the yarn itself is like a plaited strand yarn, if you can see that. It's not a normal ply, it's kind of chained. I'm not sure how you describe that kind of yarn, but yeah. How many needles did I use for that? 4mm needles. And I did, on this pattern, I did my first crochet cast on. I did a provisional cast on using a crochet needle, which I'd never done before, so that was a new challenge for me with this pattern. And I must say I really enjoyed working on this pattern, and I do want to make another one because I do like the style of it. Now I know what I need to concentrate on focusing on when it comes to the pattern. If I do it again, like this area in particular, I need to pay more attention when I'm working that area. Other than that, it's plain sailing, and if I do it again I want to be able to wear it in the cooler months because it's sleeveless, and that was the intention, but never mind. I will still get it, it will still get worn. So those, I think, are all my finished objects. Now I have works in progress to share with you, so bear with me while I get rid of all these finished objects and surround myself with my whips. Okay, so my whips are here with me. I'm going to start by showing you what's in my John Lewis bag, and this houses my big let's take that hook out. What have I called it? I've called it my Stash Buster corner to corner blanket. That's what this is. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So this is where I'm at. I started down in this corner here, and I have moved along to here. This is using double knit yarns, and it's 2 strands, so I use one double knit strand in a colour yarn and one double knit strand in a cream yarn. I was lucky enough to receive from my friend Emma some cream yarn to continue, quite a lot of it, to continue the blanket because I'd run out of cream yarn, and some little scraps of colours to continue with the blanket. So I've gone from, I can't remember where I was when I last shared this, probably around this section. So I've done some pinks. I've gone from pink to like deeper burgundies, back to pink, and I am, where am I? Here at the moment. I've run out of that pink, and I have started to square it off here. So I didn't want it to be like way big, so it's kind of there, and that's where I'm starting to square it off to a rectangular shape, and it's quite wide. It's very difficult to show it because it's that big. It's quite a wide blanket. Not quite sure if I'm going to keep it as a blanket or make it into like a floor rug. We shall see. I'm currently using this hook, which is a size 4, not sure what that is in letters, but it's a 4mm hook, and I think it's a clover hook, not quite sure, can't remember because I don't have the packaging. But what's that doing in there? Yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I have only a few balls left of double knit yarn to finish, to do the colour sections, so I've got to do some stash diving and see what colours I have left, because this is all I've got left at the moment to continue on the blanket, and then I'll be at a standstill again, looking for some colours to add to kind of finish it off. But that's where I am with that one. Corner to corner blanket, which is crochet. For those of you that are unaware, it's a crochet project. There are loads of tutorials on YouTube for how to work corner to corner blankets. So I don't really feel that I need to try and make a tutorial. I've never done a tutorial sharing how to make stuff, knitting or crochet, so there's plenty of them on YouTube that I use. So if you're interested in the corner to corner pattern, then do check out YouTube. Just put in corner to corner blanket, and you know, you'll find a video pop up. Anyway, I have another corner to corner blanket on the go, which is a more grey and black kind of colour. For this one, I have used specifically one type of yarn, which is this ombre luxury knitting yarn from B&M Stores. You can see that it's £2.99 a ball, and it's 100g skein. And this is a 72% acrylic, 18% wool, 10% nylon base. And do I have? Yeah, this is. I've got skein of it, a ball of it to show you. I'm using, I think, a 5mm hook with this one. Let's see. 5.5mm hook I'm using, just an ordinary metal one. I do kind of switch it out depending on whether I can find the hook or not. This is what the yarn looks like in the ball. And just like the other one that I used to make the top, to make the Simply Perfect summer top, the knitted one, this is kind of like a chained yarn. Let's see if you can see it there. It's like a chained yarn. Can you see that? Rather than stranded, it's chained. It's not easy to see it in the black, but yeah, that's what that is. So I've got this one. I think, is that the only ball I've got left? I'm sure I've got more. I went back to B&M Stores because I had run out of the yarn, and I was waiting for ages for them to restock it, and then I went back very recently and I found that they had lots of it there, and I bought everything that was on the shelf because I'm trying to get a throw out of this, a bed throw for my bed, and so that's what I did. So recently, so I've been working on this, and because I've had so much trouble sourcing the yarn, I decided to square it off here and start thinking about maybe attaching a piece to this to extend it. Because I've had so much trouble getting the yarn, but I'm not sure whether it's going to work, because I picked up some other yarn. This is like a DK weight, I think they've described this as, and I bought some Aran weight yarn that I was going to use, and I attached that and it didn't look the same. It was too thick for this project, so I've ended up making another separate blanket. So this is the yarn I was going to use, but I think this is more of a chunky yarn. Didn't actually say on the yarn ball what weight it is. It just says to use 7 to 8 millimeter needles, so I'm guessing that's chunky, because it was way too big for this project, way too thick. So that was a bit of a disappointment. So I'm kind of thinking about how I'm going to expand the size of this project to make it a decent size throw for my bed, or whether I just attach another project to it. I'm not sure how this is going to end up, but I know that I want to square this off, and so I've started the process. Here's the bottom, and this is where I've squared off, and it's going that way, so I've still got quite a bit to do. But the thing with this project is an easy project for me to do, because I can do, I find the corner to corner crochet quite mindless in a sense, although with crochet I find that I do have to keep looking at my work. So this is not the kind of project that I can do while I'm watching TV, if I'm trying to actually keep up with what's going on the screen, which my husband keeps reminding me. So I have to put it down if I'm trying to keep up with what's going on and do something else. Usually I will just reach for a knitting project, because I can watch TV while I'm knitting, and especially sock knitting, and not have to look at what I'm doing all the time. But with crochet I have to look at what I'm doing to be able to work on it. So that is not a mindless project. So the other blanket that I was talking about that I started to make because that yarn didn't fit that project is this one, and for this one I've done granny squares. So this yarn is the label I just showed you a moment ago. It's a super soft twist yarn by B&M Stores, £1.99 a ball, very affordable, and it is acrylic, so it's 80% acrylic, 20% polyamide, and it is really lovely. It's a chunky yarn. And what I've done, I started, this is a kind of a improvisation project. So I started by doing some granny squares, and then I thought, oh, let me show you the right side. Then I thought, oh, let me join them together, and that's where I've got to. So I've done ordinary granny squares for the two rows that you can see at the bottom. Then I've done ordinary treble crochets here, or double crochets US and trebles UK. Then I thought, oh, let me try a variation of a stitch. Let me just try this out. So I've done a stitch. I think I found this stitch on the Jada and Stitches show, where they used it to edge a blanket. So it was like a crossover. I don't even know how to describe it. So you do a double crochet into the second chain, and then you chain one, and then you double crochet into the chain before the one that you just went in, and then you do a double crochet, something like that. I can't remember because I was just doing it off the cuff. I was making it up as I went along, and it came out really nicely. That's that section here that I'm talking about. Then I went to do the trebles again, and then I went back to like granny square type stitching. What do you call that? Don't know what you call that, but I wanted it to make it look like the granny square section, so that's what I did. 3 trebles, then a space, skipped 2 trebles, 3 trebles, skip 2, 3 trebles, skip 2, something like that. And then I did trebles again, or double trebles. Then I used, if you remember this loopy pattern, I made a white summer top with that pattern, using that pattern, and I thought, oh, let me use it for this blanket, see what stitches I can do. So I recreated that here, so it's got a part of my t-shirt in there, my summer top in there. Then I've gone to double trebles again. I think I do 4 rows of double trebles. 1, 2, 3, no, maybe, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I do 4 rows of double trebles generally, and then I move on to another pattern. So I've done 2 here without this one. The first one after the loops has got gaps in, so I need another couple of rows of the double treble, and then think of another pattern to add. and this is going to be hopefully a blanket. And then I will do, after doing all of that patterning, when I've got it to the length that I want, then I will think of a border to put around the edges just to make it actually look like a blanket. But that's what that's looking like at the moment. This wasn't a planned project. I just decided to start using it because, start working on it because the yarn, this yarn was actually intended to join that blanket and it didn't quite work, so I thought I would just make a new blanket out of it altogether. So that is where I am with that one. And that's what the yarn looks like. I showed you that earlier. I think this is the last. Did I have any more of this? I may not have any more of that yarn. I may have to go and buy some more of that particular yarn, or just switch it up and use another yarn. I was tempted to use the Genie, Stylecraft Genie that I have left over, but this is a DK weight yarn and not an Aran, so that's going to look a bit, it won't match in terms of the weight, so that I'm going to have to find another use for that. But yeah, that's where I am with that one, and that is being housed in my, I think this is a Woolly Mummy Yarns bag, big project bag here. Lastly, for whips, I have been working on some shorty socks again. I started these yesterday, and it's a stash buster project. I just want to try and use up odd bits of yarn that I have left over from sock projects or hat projects or whatever, and so I have decided to just make it a scrappy shorty sock project, and I've put it in my Clinique bag. Every so often Clinique does a bonus time offer in Boots or in Debenhams, and I pick up the goodies in that, pick up some makeup goodies and stuff in that bonus time offer, and with that you get this little makeup bag. And I thought, just yesterday when I started these socks, I thought that was quite a handy size for socks, so I am using this Clinique bag to house my latest sock project, and it's a zip top. And so I'm using leftover Lay Family yarns, which I mentioned earlier, which is this in the colour Vintage China, and I'm using a skein, well, a little, I was given a little mini skein of this yarn from Ellie from Craft House Magic, so I'm adding that in. And I have this yarn, which I think, where did I get this from? I can't remember where I got this from, but I had some of this left over from a project, so I thought I'd put that in. I can't remember if this was actually a full-size yarn or just a little snippet. What was it? Oh my goodness, I don't remember what yarn it was. That's terrible, isn't it? Anyway, I had a lot of this yarn. I think this may be the Jelly Beans yarn, but I'm not entirely sure. But I had some of this left over, so I decided to put that in. And then Torpid by Dusty Dimples, I had left over from this. This was left over from the vintage, not vintage, Vertices Unite shawl. So I'm using that to finish up the project. Yeah, because I think I used this in the hat that I mentioned before, and I still had some left over. So I thought, let me use up what I've got and make scrappy socks. So this, I'm working them in tandem. So this is sock 1. So you can see I used that purple for the toes, and then I used the Vintage China for 10 rows here, then the Torpid, then Vintage China, then the pink Craft House Magic yarn, and then I've gone back to Vintage China. But I think I'm at the point where I need to shape for the heel, so I've stopped here. Hopefully you can see I have a pattern by Hey Brown Berry, Mars from Hey Brown Berry, called the, what's it called? Blueberries and, not blueberries, what am I talking about? I made some socks that I showed you in the last video. Pebbles and Pathways socks, and I like the pattern from that, so I've kind of done a slight variation of that for these socks, without the chains, because the chains require me to think too much. So more than I'd like to, at least for this sock project. So I've just decided to adopt the pattern, the garter stitch middle section here, from that sock pattern, and the back is just a plain stocking stitch. So that'll be the front, that's the foot, and I'm on the heel now, so then I'll work up the foot, the leg even, But I like the springiness of the garter stitch, so I thought I'd try that on these scrappy socks and see how I get on. So that's where I am with that one. That's sock 1 and this is sock 2. So I need to work this one up to the point where I can shape for the heel. Not quite sure what shaping to use for the heel. I'm hoping to, I might actually just use the Hay Brown, just use the Pebbles and Pathway pattern to do the heels on this and then just continue. And that's what they look like at the moment. I'm trying to stick to like pinks and purples. Not sure if I'm going to have, well, I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn to do a lot of leg, but I'm planning to do the heel in the vintage lace colourway, and then hopefully that won't have used up all of it and I'll be able to make a little colour adjustment before I get to the cuff. We'll see. I don't know. I'm just playing along and seeing what I can come up with at this stage. But that is where I am with these. And that's sock 2. So this one needs to catch up. So I need to start on this one and add in the do another row, another 10 rows of vintage lace, and then another 10 rows of this pink colour on this sock, and then I can start the heel on that as well. So yeah, that's where I am with that. Enjoying it so far. Catching up on my EastEnders while I work these, and it's good. I'm having fun with those, and like I said, they are being, all these little yarns and the socks are being housed in my Clinique bag, and those are my whips. That is it. That's all that I can recall having worked on. I already shared with you in the previous video some incoming yarn that I got, which was from a giveaway. So if you're interested in finding out what that was, go and check out that video. I don't want this video to be too long, and I think it's really long already. So I think I have one incoming thing to show you, and that is something that I bought very recently when I realised I hadn't actually bought any yarn this month, so I thought I would treat myself to something else. So I came across, I've been looking at this for such a long time, and I was dying to get one because I tend to buy a lot of hand-dyed yarns. It seems, it occurred to me that it would be a good idea to just buy a yarn swift, and so that's what I've done. So I found a shop online on Etsy, and it is this shop here, Unique Fibres. Hopefully you can see that. And she has a yarn swift for sale, which is a wooden yarn swift, and I purchased that from her, and it comes in pieces like this. I think I saw Mars from Hey Brown Berry using one, and I thought, oh, that looks easy. She was setting it all up and I thought it looks really easy, so I thought, if I can get one of those, that would be perfect for me, because I can just take it apart when I'm not using it and not have to have it out in that umbrella form like constantly and need to have a place to store it. So it came in all these pieces, and it's very easy to put it together. And I'm not going to show you because it's just, I think it's, you will have seen these probably in other videos, but I got it all. I got myself a yarn swift and I'm really chuffed with it. So yeah, I have some yarn that I need to be balling up, because I have my ball winder, now I have my yarn swift, so now I should be a lot more speedy at winding my balls of yarn. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Anyway, and it wasn't like overly expensive. I think it was around about £40, something like that, but it wasn't like, I don't know, I've seen some that are like in excess of like £50–60, so this was quite a good deal for me, and I'm really pleased with it. So yeah, that is it. That's my incoming. I'm going to leave it there because I'm surrounded by stuff and I need to do a bit of tidying up now, and I can't think what else you might like to hear about. That is it. That is my incoming section. I'm going to leave it there for now. Anything that I haven't remembered to tell you in this video, I will make a note to tell you in my next one. So, and hopefully that will be more timely. So do look out for that. But until next time, I hope you are enjoying your knitting. I hope you have enjoyed seeing what I've been working on. If you have, give me some thumbs up. Let me know in the description box below. If you have any suggestions for those random bits of yarn that I seem to be accumulating, let me know in the comments section below also. And yeah, that is it from me. Thanks for watching and see you next time.